Hello! In the sun-drenched land of Calabria, amid the tranquil beauty of olive groves and lush green vineyards, an underground empire quietly expands like a shadow enveloping the entire city. The cobblestone streets may seem peaceful, but they bear witness to countless bloody confrontations between the police and a force that instills fear in everyone. The mafia gang in Ndrangheta. This is not only a place where violence occurs openly, but also a stage for drug trafficking and arms dealing, all under the blazing sun and the helplessness of many. Hidden deep within the valleys and villages of southern Italy, Ndrangheta not only exists but dominates. This gang is not just a criminal organization, it is a powerful machine with revenues surpassing those of giant corporations like McDonald's and IKEA. Their profits reach €53 billion stemming from illegal activities across multiple continents. But what makes Ndrangheta so untouchable? How can they evade the grip of justice and brazenly manipulate an entire region? In the village of San Luca, the dark heart of the mafia empire, nothing is as peaceful as it appears. Farmers from the 19th century turned to organized crime to survive during chaotic times. From small initial groups, Ndrangheta has grown into a massive criminal network, dragging the world into the dark vortex of smuggling, extortion, and murder. Names like Antonio Macri, who was once the son of a farming family in Salerno, but quickly rose as a ruthless and intelligent leader, have taken this organization to new heights. Or Domenico Tripoto, who ruled the port city of Reggio Calabria through fear with an iron fist and unending violence. Luigi Lagana, a strategic mastermind with a natural talent for running the mafia network, helped Ndrangheta extend its octopus-like tentacles across the globe. Each brick of this empire is built upon blood and tears, creating a power system based not only on violence, but also on time-honored secret rules. Omerta, the law of silence, has become the binding thread for members, prohibiting them from betraying their family or disclosing any information to outsiders. Violating this rule means facing brutal punishment, often resulting in merciless death. But don't let the serene appearance of Calabria deceive you. Under Ndrangheta's control, from remote villages to major cities, this mafia has expanded its dominance, stifling not only the economy, but also manipulating the global cocaine market. With every successful ton of smuggled drugs, they not only grow wealthy, but also reinforce their power, impacting the fates of millions around the world. Calabria, with its lush olive groves, is now under mafia manipulation, and although resistance from the government and law enforcement continues, this battle may last for many more generations. Amidst the fierce sun of Calabria, Ndrangheta, the notorious mafia gang, does not stop at underground manipulation, but has infiltrated every corner of the global economy. From construction and agriculture to tourism, they wield control through a network of threats and corruption. The leaders use dirty money and power as trump cards to dominate legitimate sectors, turning lucrative industries into tools for colossal profit. The construction industry has become the arena where Ndrangheta showcases its power most visibly. In the early 2000s, the Emerald City project, a symbol of wealth and power, rose in the town of Brancaleio, promising luxurious apartments and top-notch amenities. However, behind this glamorous facade lies a horrifying truth. It was merely a perfect cover for the mafia's money laundering and extortion activities. Millions of euros were funneled into the project by the mafia, not only to amass wealth, but also to consolidate power, disregarding the law and justice. The agricultural sector, once the pride of Calabria, also fell under the mafia's control. Families like the Tripotos dominated vast olive groves, turning olive oil production, one of Italy's most important exports, into a lucrative revenue stream. Under the guise of legality, the mafia imposed themselves on local farmers, forcing them to bow to threats and violence. Every bottle of olive oil sold represented not just profit, but also a symbol of the brutal power they exerted over an entire community. Even the tourism sector, with its picturesque beaches and peaceful resorts, couldn't escape the infiltration of Ndrangheta. The town of Salerno, once a popular tourist destination, has now become a front for lucrative contracts that the mafia secures through bribery and intimidation. Hotels, Amusement parks and beaches all serve as tools for the mafia, allowing them to not only profit, but also extend their influence throughout the community. Yet the true sophistication of Ndrangheta lies in the art of money laundering. They disguise their enormous wealth through a complex network of front companies, offshore accounts, and fake businesses. Billions of euros in dirty money have been washed away, disappearing into the streams of legal finances, enabling the gang to maintain power without anyone easily noticing. However, the real threat posed by the mafia in Calabria does not just lie in the visible industries. It is their control over the global cocaine market that has propelled them to become one of the strongest criminal organizations in the world. From the dense jungles of South America, where cocaine is produced, to the ports of Europe, Ndrangheta has established close ties with drug cartels in Colombia, Ecuador, and Mexico, ensuring a steady supply of drugs to be distributed throughout Europe and beyond. Amidst the dark veil of crime and dominance, a glimmer of hope still flickers. It comes from people like Ndrangheta, a mafia prosecutor who has dedicated his life to confronting the powerful mafia empire. Gratteri's battle unfolds not only in the shadows, but also in intense confrontations on every front. One of his boldest operations took place on a frigid morning in Reggio Calabria. After months of meticulous planning, Gratteri's team unexpectedly raided a network of mafia bosses behind the construction industry. As dawn began to break, police officers descended upon the city, conducting simultaneous arrests at multiple targets. Luxurious villas and seemingly ordinary offices were all searched. Gratteri and his team not only apprehended criminals, but also dug deep into the roots of the collusion between the mafia and the economy. This operation delivered a strong blow to the Ndrangheta empire and sent a powerful message that, no matter how great the mafia's power, there will always be people who stand up to defend justice and fight against crime. The battle against the mafia is a long and arduous journey, but with each raid and every arrest, the hope for a Calabria free from the shadow of Ndrangheta shines a little brighter. In this bold crackdown, Gratteri's team has toppled some of the most bloodthirsty bosses of Ndrangheta, the brutal mafia gang that dominates the Calabria region. Among them, the name Salvatore Aquino caused a significant shock. As a powerful boss, Aquino had arrogantly evaded the law, leading many to believe he was untouchable. But this time the net tightened, and under the iron fist of Gratteri, Aquino would finally pay for the crimes he had perpetrated for decades. News of Aquino's arrest spread quickly, creating a massive shockwave not only in the underground world, but also shaking the very power structure that the mafia had painstakingly built. Criminal networks were thrown into disarray, and the message was clear. No one, not even the most powerful, can escape the law. But this was just the beginning. The consequences of Aquino's arrest quickly escalated into unprecedented danger. Mafia associates began to react violently, continuously threatening and covertly attacking Gratteri and his team. A tense atmosphere enveloped them. Every step Gratteri took was fraught with the risk of death. Nevertheless, Gratteri refused to back down. He continued to lead operations to expose the criminal network of Ndrangheta. From sophisticated wiretaps to witness protection measures, no corner of the gang escaped scrutiny. Each trial was a fierce battle, but each victory ignited hope that the mafia's power could be defeated. However, behind the facade of power, joining Ndrangheta was not merely stepping into crime, it was a permanent binding. The initiation ritual involved mystical ceremonies and an absolute oath of loyalty, binding every member in such a way that retreating was not an option without paying with their lives. Despite these rigid rules, law enforcement forces persevered, continuing to delve into the arduous battle. At the heart of the fight against Ndrangheta lies the relentless confrontation with their vast drug trafficking network. Colonel Alessandro Barbera, the commander of the Guardia di Finanza, has become the sharp spear against the mafia's drug empire. In his proud military uniform, he leads dangerous raids directly targeting drug transport hubs, determined to cut off the cocaine supply flowing from South America. From his command center in Gioia, one of the largest ports in Europe, Barbera coordinates operations with decisiveness and meticulous attention to detail. Each cocaine shipment seized is a significant blow to the financial lifeblood of Ndrangheta. weakening the mafia's power in the global market. But he knows that this battle is far from over. The mafia gang, with abundant resources and an international network, is not easily subdued. Each success spurs them to resist even more fiercely, and every victory comes with a hefty price. In the cold night, the team of officers enters mafia strongholds armed with arrest warrants and steely resolve. From the narrow alleys of San Luca to the port of Gioia Tauro, raids occur in silence and tension, with no room for error. Every move is a matter of life and death, yet they press on, determined to bring every boss before the court. Under the dominion of Ndrangheta, Calabria feels imprisoned in fear and intimidation. The people are trapped in a vortex with no escape, their lives forever controlled by the brutality of the mafia. Yet as long as individuals like Gratteri and Barbera stand firm, there remains hope that one day Calabria will break free from the grip of crime. The fight is long, but no one is stepping back. Amidst the tangled cobblestone streets of San Luca, where the darkness of the mafia looms large, a beacon of hope continues to shine: Father Pino Strangio. He is the brave priest caught between loyalty to his faith and blood ties to the ruthless members of Ndrangheta. Born into a family with deep ties to this criminal organization, Father Strangio understands the power and influence the mafia wields, but his courage does not allow him to remain silent. Despite facing direct threats, he decided to expose the criminal activities of Ndrangheta, putting himself in danger solely to end this terrifying reign. His righteous path is fraught with traps, but with unwavering faith and commitment, Father Strangio does not falter. He stands like a warrior on the battlefield, determined to bring hope to the people of San Luca, even as he confronts the ever-present fear. However, Father Strangio is not alone in this fight. In the quiet town of Pomai, Gaetano Saffiati lives in the nightmare of extortion and intimidation. For many years, he has been paying protection money to the mafia, his life tightly controlled by them. Yet when the pressure became unbearable, Gaetano decided to stand up, knowing his life might be at risk, to expose the mafia's criminal activities. With courage and relentless determination, Gaetano gathered evidence of the extortion ring, using hidden cameras and secret recordings to document the terror inflicted by the mafia. Despite the harsh threats from the gang, Gaetano remained undeterred, resolutely fighting to reclaim his freedom and that of other victims of this brutal regime. Through his indomitable spirit, he has become a symbol of hope for those who dare to challenge the mafia's grip on the land of Calabria. Yet tragedy continues in the peaceful village of Tutela, where Mario is mourning the death of his son, Gianluca. Gianluca was brutally murdered simply for daring to confront the ruthless power of Ndrangheta. Determined to seek justice for his son's death, Mario embarked on a journey to uncover the truth, challenging the mafia's code of silence and demanding answers from those responsible for Gianluca's death. As the grip of Ndrangheta tightens on the community, the light of moral authority shines through from Pope Francis and the Catholic Church. They act as guardians, empowering brave individuals like Father Strangio and Gaetano, encouraging them never to abandon the fight against cruelty. Alongside the persistent fears is a wave of hope beginning to form, and the battle against the mafia continues with courageous individuals ready to face it. Amidst the gloomy atmosphere of Calabria, where the shadow of the mafia lurks, Pope Francis has become a beacon of light, offering hope to those suffering from the pain of crime. Through his visits and strong condemnations, he has called for an unyielding fight against Ndrangheta. In June 2014, the Pope's historic visit to Cassano all'Ionio, one of the mafia's strongholds, attracted thousands of people, including victims and their families, who gathered to await his arrival. There, in the tense atmosphere, he delivered an unambiguous message of disdain for the mafia's brutal actions. With a resonant voice, the Pope condemned the ruthless exploitation of the poor and vulnerable, calling the mafia's acts a worship of evil. He not only urged mafia members to repent, but also emphasized that salvation could only come from renouncing crime. His words touched the hearts of millions in Calabria, igniting a flame of hope and solidarity in the fight against organized crime. The Pope's visit not only reaffirmed the Church's commitment to justice and peace, but also ignited a strong will within the community. reminding them that they are not alone in this fight. Not stopping there, the Pope employed the Church's ultimate weapon against the mafia, the excommunication. The decision to excommunicate mafia members sent a sharp and clear message. Anyone who exploits faith for nefarious purposes will pay the price. This was a powerful blow to the heart of the mafia, forcing them to confront a boycott from both the church and society. Although the sun had set behind the treacherous hills, the darkness of Ndrangheta still enveloped Calabria, with the organization's influence more persistent than ever. Despite many efforts from law enforcement, anti-mafia prosecutors, and social activists, the mafia's control remained solid, deeply rooted in every aspect of people's lives. The mafia's enduring presence in Calabria is not only a product of crime, but also a testament to a complex network of social, economic, and cultural factors. Poverty, unemployment, and a culture of fear have created a fertile environment for the growth of organized crime. In this context, the ability of Ndrangheta to adapt and evolve in response to opposition highlights the severe challenges in the fight against crime in the 21st century. Amid the tireless efforts of brave individuals like the Pope, this struggle continues to symbolize hope and the strength of humanity against the forces of evil.
This is the story of a man who survived one of the most brutal drug wars in Dutch history, a conflict that spanned over a decade. It all started with a missing shipment of cocaine worth $5 million, but what happened next was beyond anyone's wildest imagination. This man wasn't just a key figure in the war. He might have been the one who ignited a wave of unprecedented violence. The story behind it is even more complex. He's accused of being the mastermind behind the mysterious disappearance of a man who remains missing to this day. And it doesn't stop there. He's also believed to have orchestrated the kidnapping of the brother of Belgium's most notorious drug lord, a bold move to exact revenge and consolidate power. These accusations are far from trivial, but what's the truth behind all this? This is the story of Hussein 8S. Hussein, also known by the nickname The Mayor, was born in 1979 in Amsterdam, growing up in the crime-ridden areas of the city. From a young age, Hussein was drawn into a life of crime, committing a series of offenses along with other kids from the neighborhood. Initially, it was just petty thefts, but soon their group evolved into organized crime on a larger scale. Hussein entered the drug smuggling world alongside his friends Gwinnett Martha and Najeb Bubu. They started off dealing in ecstasy and then moved on to cocaine, a highly profitable but extremely dangerous commodity. Life seemed perfect at that time, with money flowing in and everything going smoothly, but in 2007, Gwinnett, the leader of the group, was arrested. While Gwinnett was in prison, Hussein and Najeb continued to run the organization. In May 2008, Gwinnett made a daring escape from prison and fled to Morocco, where he hid in Hussein's house before escaping to Belgium. However, in 2010, Gwinnett was arrested again, and this time, he made a decision that would change the entire game, a decision that led to a decade of violence and death, claiming over 20 lives. Constant clashes with the law made it difficult for Gwinnett to effectively run the organization. He decided to hand over leadership to Najeb Bubu while waiting for his chance to regain control. This decision infuriated Hussein, who felt betrayed by the man he had trusted after all he had done for Gwinnett. Angry and frustrated, Hussein decided to leave the organization and start his own path with his brother-in-law, Benouf A. In 2012, Gwinnett returned, and although the rift between them remained unresolved, Hussein still arranged a cocaine shipment with Gwinnett. They were no longer friends, just business partners with a single goal: is money. A 200 kilograms shipment of cocaine was scheduled to arrive at a port in the UK, but fate took a different turn. The shipment reached the port as expected, but then mysteriously vanished without a trace. Suspicion and tension escalated, pushing both sides into a spiral of distrust and confrontation. Instead of resolving the issue peacefully, everything escalated, fueling a bloody conflict that lasted a decade. The war erupted fiercely when Najeb, the man Gwinnett chose to replace Hussein, was assassinated in Antwerp. From there, a true nightmare unfolded, with over 20 people losing their lives in an unprecedented wave of violence in the underworld. On October 18, 2012, a death order was allegedly issued by Hussein and Benouf, marking the beginning of a series of bloody events. Shortly after, Hussein disappeared from Amsterdam, constantly fleeing between Morocco and Panama. The death of Najeb, Gwinnet's loyal associate, not only marked a significant turning point, but also sparked an endless cycle of revenge. Both sides harbored an intense desire for retribution, and no one could feel safe. Amidst this storm of violence, one event stood out, making everything more brutal than ever before. The first act of vengeance occurred at the doorstep of Feyrouz Lounge, a popular shisha bar that was not only a gathering place for Hussein and his gang, but also a symbol of the organization's underground power. On March 9, 2016, a severed human head was placed in front of the bar, its eyes seemingly staring through the windows inside. That horrifying image was etched into the minds of those involved, serving as an unforgettable warning of the cruelty of this war. Imagine this happened 4 years after the cocaine shipment went missing. Everything had truly spiraled into uncontrollable chaos. While Amsterdam was engulfed in turmoil, Hussein remained at a distance, far away from the authorities' reach. However, that didn't mean he had stopped his drug trafficking activities. The cocaine smuggling world is filled with brutality, where even a small mistake can lead to disaster, as we've seen from the 200 kilograms shipment that went missing in 2012. In 2016, Hussein was drawn into another shocking act of revenge stemming from a failed shipment. It all began in June 2015 when Hussein received a 320 kilograms shipment of cocaine from South America to a port in the UK. He entrusted a Belgian contact, Van Fouad Abbas Tot George, with the task of retrieving the cocaine from the containers and distributing it to secret warehouses. On June 19, 2015, the shipment arrived at the UK port and Abbas Tot George's team quickly extracted the cocaine from the container. Everything seemed to be going smoothly, but in reality, the shipment had been under police surveillance all along. The police waited patiently, monitoring every move, and eventually tracked them to the parking lot of the City Inn Hotel in Borgerhout. There, they caught Abbas Tot George and his 2 accomplices in the act of receiving the goods and stuffing them into the trunk of a car. At that moment, the police stormed in and arrested them all. Hussein was furious when he learned that his shipment worth over 10 million euros had been confiscated. That's when the real trouble began for Abbas Tot George. Although he was only detained for a short time, but upon his release, he quickly realized that Hussein had no intention of letting this matter slide. Hussein demanded that Abbas Tot George repay the enormous sum, issuing a chilling warning. "You received the shipment, so you have to pay." However, Abbas Tot George refused, arguing that the situation was beyond his control and not his fault. For months, Hussein kept pressuring Abbas Tot George, but he remained defiant. Angered and losing patience, Hussein began direct attacks, shooting at multiple houses connected to Abbas Tot George. Even in the face of violence, Abbas Tot George stubbornly refused to pay. Finally, Hussein decided to take more drastic action by planning to kidnap Abbas Tot George. However, this plan had to be put on hold when Hussein was arrested in Morocco. It was the fake passport he was carrying that caught the attention of border authorities, leading to his detention. It is believed that Hussein had come from his hideout in Central America, where he had been evading capture for a long time. Upon his arrest, Moroccan police searched 2 of Hussein's private properties in Marrakech, uncovering a treasure trove that included 34 luxury watches, 10 mobile phones, 2 tablets, 16,000 euros in cash, and 10 fake passports. This was just the tip of the iceberg, revealing a glimpse into the complex and ruthless underground life Hussein was leading. Dutch authorities were elated upon hearing the news of Hussein's arrest, hoping that Morocco would extradite him back to the Netherlands. Hussein was not only the prime suspect in a series of violent incidents shaking Amsterdam, but also had a pending 244-day suspended sentence for severe assaults committed in Amsterdam in 2002 and 2008, making him the target of an international arrest warrant. However, Morocco has a policy of not extraditing its citizens, which meant that the hope of bringing Hussein back to the Netherlands was almost entirely dashed. In response, the Netherlands requested that Morocco prosecute Hussein for identity fraud and enforce the remaining 244 days of his suspended sentence. This move was not only aimed at ensuring that Hussein served his punishment, but also at prolonging his detention to allow time for building a more serious case, possibly involving drug trafficking and even orchestrating murders in the violent Amsterdam drug war. On August 20th, 2015, Hussein ATS was sentenced to only 4 months in prison for identity fraud, leaving Dutch law enforcement deeply disappointed. The Moroccan judge did not address the 244 days of Hussein's unserved sentence. Upon completing his sentence, Hussein was released, leaving Dutch authorities empty-handed. He immediately resumed his grand plan to kidnap Abbas Tot George. Hussein did not hesitate to recruit 4 notorious gangsters from Paris to carry out this mission. For months, this group secretly tracked Abbas Tot George's every move, placing a tracking device under his car and constantly surveilling both his home and his mother's house, where Abbas Tot George frequently visited. In mid-July 2016, Antwerp's underworld was thrown into chaos when Abbas Tot George went missing for 5 days with no one, not even his wife or associates, having any idea of his whereabouts. In reality, Hussein had ordered the Parisian gangsters to act on July 7, 2016. They successfully kidnapped Abbas Tot George and immediately held him captive in an apartment in Brussels. To prove that Abbas Tot George was in their custody, the kidnappers placed his passport in the mailbox of his closest associate. They also sent a voice recording to his wife in which Abbas Tot George said, "I am still alive. This is not a joke. Follow their instructions." Soon after, another recording was sent, this time with the chilling voice of an unknown man. "Do not go to the police or we will kill him." Initially, Hussein demanded a ransom of 10 million euros, equivalent to the value of the failed cocaine shipment, but after tense negotiations, the amount was reduced to 5 million euros. In the end, Abbas Tot George's group could only gather 1.6 million euros in cash at that moment. To show their sincerity, they handed over the money to Hussein and promised that the rest would be delivered. However, things did not go as expected. All communication between the kidnappers and Abbas Tot George's people suddenly ceased. Anxiety grew as they began to suspect whether Abbas Tot George was still alive, especially when the kidnappers refused to negotiate further on the exchange of money and the hostage. Rumors began to spread rapidly. Some said Abbas Tot George had been killed and his body dissolved in acid in Amsterdam, while others claimed he had been buried in the Sahara Desert. But whatever the truth, the fate of Abbas Tot George remains a mystery. Even more terrifying is that this kidnapping was not the only act allegedly orchestrated by Hussein. Just 4 months later, on November 15, 2016, another man, who had just left the Basic Fit gym in Antwerp, became the victim of a brutal kidnapping. Surveillance cameras captured the moment he approached his car when a van suddenly pulled up beside him. A group of men jumped out, seized him within seconds, and sped away, leaving no trace of his whereabouts for 5 days. Unexpectedly, a man named Othman LB contacted the Antwerp police, claiming that his younger brother Younes had been kidnapped, and that he had managed to get in touch with the kidnappers. The kidnappers demanded a large ransom, plunging everyone into a new nightmare. Othman did not hesitate to identify the mastermind behind this audacious kidnapping. It was none other than Hussein. For those unfamiliar, Othman LB is not just any name, he is one of the biggest drug lords in Belgium. Starting from extracting cocaine from containers at the port of Antwerp, Othman cleverly turned this into an opportunity to build his empire. Instead of receiving cash, he demanded to be paid in cocaine, a bold but incredibly smart move. Othman obtained cocaine at the base price from South America, ranging from $2,000 to $6,000 per kilogram. However, everyone knew that once this shipment safely reached the port of Antwerp, its value could skyrocket to $25,000 per kilogram or even higher. By selling the cocaine himself, Othman made enormous profits and quickly rose to the top of the underworld. Othman's empire grew stronger, and no one wanted to miss the chance to join his winning team. Currently, Othman is probably the richest drug smuggler in Belgium, but on paper, he is merely a businessman specializing in luxury watches and real estate investments in Dubai. If you want to learn more about Othman's life and career, don't miss the video on my channel. It's truly a fascinating story. Back to the case, Othman continued to provide the police with crucial information about Hussein and his network, even knowing the serial number of the BlackBerry PGP phone Hussein was using. Meanwhile, Younes, Othman's brother, was being held at a secret location somewhere in Brussels. After weeks of captivity, Younes was moved to Paris. Throughout this time, Othman remained in Dubai, continuously providing valuable information to the Antwerp police. After 37 days in captivity, Younes finally managed to escape. According to reports, he used a spoon to pry open his handcuffs, tied sheets together, and climbed out of a window to freedom. But is this story credible, or did Othman quietly pay the ransom? Rumors on the street suggested that Othman had paid several million euros, gold, or several kilograms of cocaine, or perhaps even luxury watches to save his brother. However, Othman firmly denied this. Othman asserted, "The stories about me paying a ransom in cash, gold, or cocaine are absurd. My brother escaped from the apartment in Paris on his own. After Younes was rescued, the investigation gained momentum rapidly. On January 24, 2017, 4 Frenchmen, Hussein S., Mohamed Kanouté, Abu Sako, and Rachid Belarbi, were arrested in Amsterdam. They were the prime suspects in the kidnapping of Abbas Tot George Balker. Younes recognized Abu's voice and recalled him saying, "We've done this before," clearly referring to the kidnapping of Abbas Tot George. During an interrogation, Mohammed coldly stated, "If two groups in the underworld have an issue with each other, they will sit down together until the problem is resolved. That's not kidnapping." This was clearly a dangerously understated interpretation. However, the most substantial evidence linking Hussein to the kidnapping emerged when Adil El Monti was arrested. Younes identified Adil El Monti as the person who brought him food while he was held captive, but Adil's role seemed to be much deeper. According to the police, Adil was in direct contact with Hussein. During a search of Younes' apartment, the police discovered a Romanian passport with Hussein's photo along with several other passport photos of him. In Adil's PGP phone, the police found Hussein listed in the contacts. Additionally, Adil's apartment contained several expensive watches, which investigators believe were part of the ransom Othman paid to Hussein to save his brother. This would make sense given Othman's reputation as a luxury watch dealer in Dubai. However, the biggest question is why Hussein kidnapped Othman's brother in the first place. To find the answer, we need to go back to a fateful day, May 22nd, 2014. That was the day Gwinnett Martha was shot 80 times after leaving a restaurant in Amsterdam. With his death, Hussein's biggest rival was eliminated. This was a significant blow, and it was believed that Hussein, along with his brother-in-law Benouf, had won and ended this bloody conflict. For months, the underworld in the Netherlands and Belgium was enveloped in a stifling atmosphere, waiting to see who would step up to fill the massive void Gwinnett left in the cocaine smuggling market. Gwinnett had controlled a large portion of the market, and with his death, this lucrative pie was up for grabs. Many speculated that Hussein would quickly take over this market share, and Hussein himself might have thought so too. But things didn't go as planned. Those who had previously worked under Hussein began to show disloyalty and no longer followed him. Instead of continuing to work with Hussein, they turned to Othman, whose name was rapidly rising in the smuggling scene. Everyone wants to join the winning side, and at that moment, Othman was the brightest star. Hussein started to face difficulties using the port of Antwerp as he had before. Othman and other Belgian gangs strategically sidelined him, slowly strangling Hussein's operations. Hussein's shipments were constantly being intercepted, and in the rare case that one got through, he had to pay huge commissions to insiders at the port who extracted the cocaine from containers, for him leaving Hussein's profits pitifully depleted. In this underworld, everything revolves around loyalty, something Hussein was severely lacking. Although Ndrangheta was from Amsterdam, he maintained strong relationships with powerful groups in Antwerp. He was a respected figure there, having once taken refuge in Belgium after escaping from prison with the help of friends from Antwerp, but Hussein was different. He was merely a businessman, lacking any respect from the Belgians. These groups chose to build relationships with Othman, a local from Antwerp, rather than working with Hussein from Amsterdam, a logical decision when considering the benefits for both sides. One informed source stated, "Whenever Hussein wanted to do business at the port, he would try to recruit some guys from Borgerhout, Antwerp. However, they always demanded extremely high profit percentages to cooperate, and most of the shipments failed." These continuous failures led South American cocaine suppliers to turn their backs on Hussein and switch to working with Othman, a stable and trouble-free partner. Without a doubt, the main reason Othman's brother Younes was kidnapped was as an act of revenge by Hussein. It was his way of retaliating, because Othman had seized the market that Ndrangheta left behind, pushing Hussein out of the game or at least making it difficult for him to maintain his position. Hussein might be one of the few remaining figures from the bloody conflict in the Netherlands that began in 2012. Others have been buried or imprisoned. The number of those who survived this war is very small, and it seems that after nearly a decade, everything has ended. In 2019, Hussein had a brief conversation with a Dutch crime journalist after the journalist reported that he had disappeared. He said, "That's fake news. I'm still in Morocco doing my thing. No one is looking for me." But is anyone still hunting Hussein? The answer remains a mystery because he is allegedly involved in too many incidents. We still have to use the word allegedly, because so far, Hussein is only a suspect in all the mentioned cases and has not been convicted of any crimes, from the murders in Amsterdam to drug smuggling to the kidnapping of Abbas Tot George or Younes. The lingering question is, will Hussein ever set foot in Amsterdam again? That seems highly unlikely. Will he continue to operate in the underworld after being checkmated by Othman? That's the question we'll end this story with, and perhaps we'll never know the answer. What do you think of this story? Leave your thoughts in the comments below so everyone can see. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support me. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.